Cześć pokututa, Krista Kręko, jak Oscar.
I love you.
What a time it is to be a collector. You know, for many, many years, people were pining after a new 1/12 scale Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I think the last one we got was a Revoltech in about 2012. To me, that one looked really off. The proportions were a bit weird. The eyes were kind of messed up. So it's one I skipped, and I think a lot of other people did. And now, after the release of No Way Home, we have two new Tobey Spider-Men. From Hasbro's Marvel Legends, we got a 3-pack of all 3 Spider-Men. And from Bandai, they've released a Tobey in their SH Figuarts line. And today I'm going to take a look at both side by side to show you the differences and maybe help you make a decision. Right off the bat, we see a size difference. The Marvel Legends Tobey is a little taller than the Figuarts, but only a smidge. And I'm surprised they're that close, honestly. Figuarts usually come in a fair bit smaller than Legends. But on the shelf, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. Now, obviously, these are much different in price. Figuarts tends to be much more expensive than Legends, although the Legends came in a 3-pack that a lot of people thought was overpriced. We'll take a look at the Elder Tobey first. The Figuarts was released a few months before the Legends. We see a lot of sculpted, crisp detail here. The honeycomb in the red and blue sections looks great. The spider there, a nice crisp design. Paint apps, very on point. They've used a darker blue and red compared to the Legends. The lenses here look white as they did in the movie. Proportionally, I like what's going on. He's not too stringy, but he's not super ripped. I think in his own movies, he was a lot more toned. In No Way Home, not as much. He didn't have the rippling, arms, biceps and stuff. I do like what we have here in terms of the proportions. Looking now at the Marvel Legends, and a much brighter Spider-Man here. You can see the blue and red, much brighter than what Figuarts went with, and I think a bit too bright. I like bright colors on a Spider-Man, but I don't think this is as movie accurate. As well, the silver is a lot more silvery. While the Figuarts had a metallic look to the web lines, this is straight up silver. It definitely stands out on a shelf and stands out among the other two. Quickly, I'll bring in the Andrew Garfield here. A lot darker in comparison, and I think they might have made Tobey really bright to distinguish from the other two. We do see sculpted detail, but it's a bit softer. It's not quite as sharp as the Figuarts. We have details on the red too, but it's not the same honeycomb look that the blue has. It's just little dots. It's a bit basketball-y, but those are indented. Those aren't sticking out. Surprisingly clean paint app on the spider. Same with the spider on the back. Very nice. The webs are always a bit of an issue, and it gets a little sloppy here and there. You can see where it starts to touch the details on the red. This line's off. You can tell that this silver line is off there from the sculpt. I do like the pinless joints, something we're starting to see a lot with Marvel Legends. I'm glad we see it here. Weird sculpted detail on the neck, and people have speculated this is because we're supposedly going to see unmasked versions of all 3 Spider-Men from Hasbro later on, and that this will be a flesh-colored neck piece. Overall, not terrible from Hasbro, but I mean, for premium figures, which is what they touted these as, I would expect a little better. It does get a bit sloppy, especially here on the abs. You can see the silver is kind of running out of the lines there. And when it does touch that sculpted detail, it accentuates the sloppiness. You can see a bit of extra silver there. That's kind of gone off the sculpted area. They have painted in the indents there. So when he is using the ab crunch, those details are still there, which is great. That didn't used to happen with Hasbro. I do have a bit of a blemish on the eye here. That's a sculpting thing. It's painted over, but it is there. It's not terrible, but I mean, the lens looks kind of cracked from a lot of angles, especially side on like that. Now, before I look at the accessories, I want to talk about the sculpt in terms of engineering, because that's a big sticking point for a lot of people when it comes to action figures and SH Figuarts especially. Look at that crotch. There's a lot going on, especially with these two extra pieces. Now these are just on there loose, and it's to cover up the articulation below. They're little cover pieces so that there's no gaping hole in the crotch area. You can see it extends to the back. He's got a bit of a thong going on. Marvel Legends, I think aesthetically, it looks a bit better. It's just a cleaner look. They don't break up the butt with that extra piece. And I think they've integrated the ab crunch pretty well. They've used the design of it to implement the ab crunch between the red and blue there. So, yeah, a lot of people get really freaked out by the look of the Figuarts crotch. For me, it's not a big deal. When he's posed around, it looks pretty good, in my opinion. But I thought I'd show you side by side. We also have the shoulder area, these big butterfly joints, and the less obvious ones on the Marvel Legends. Looking at accessories, we get 3 pairs of hands with the Marvel Legends. We get 2 of these fists, 2 thwipping hands, and then 2, I guess you call them wall crawling hands. We have this empty one here, which looks a bit babyish. The fingers look a little stubby to me. And that's an open palm. The other one is definitely a wall crawling hand. And I really like the sculpt on this. We don't get this pose a lot with Spider-Man action figures. Usually it's just an open palm. This has the grippy looking fingers. I'd like to see more of these coming with Spider-Man action figures, but we only get the one with Tobey. Then the Marvel Legends 3-pack also comes with the classic Hasbro web, casted in clear plastic this time. It's made of a rubbery material. You have a little holdy bit on one end, and then this little spiral bit on the other. I was never a big fan of these. They've been releasing these for a long time. They've been coming with a bunch of Spider-Man, but none of the figures can hold it. In general, usually Spider-Man don't come with a gripping hand. Tobey definitely doesn't. So I find it kind of useless. I would really like, instead, for maybe a web that snaps onto the wrist, so it looks like he's shooting a web. Never a fan of these webs, really. The Figuarts comes with a ton of accessories. We have an unmasked Tobey head. Not a bad likeness. It's not 100% there, but I applaud the effort. I do see it. I do see the likeness. We get a second Tobey head with kind of tousled hair and a smile. The smile is a little creepy and dead-eyed, but I've seen some people pose it well to make it look more organic. And I like this inclusion. 2 different unmasked heads with distinct expressions and stuff is a really nice touch. As far as hands, we get a couple of fists, 2 web-holding hands / thumbs-up hands, 2 thwipping hands. We get a pair of pointing hands, which is a great touch. All 3 of Figuarts Spider-Man is going to come with these, so you can recreate the meme pose. And really, I would have liked to see these with the Marvel Legends too. It just seems like an obvious move. We get a pair of these open / wall crawling hands. Again, this is what we usually see with Spider-Man. I do prefer the Legends sculpt with the grippy looking fingers. We get a loose mask for him to hold while you're using the unmasked head. And 2 hands designed specifically to hold it. And I think the way you do it is by putting the thumb in one of these grooves, and then the fingers go in that little slot nicely. And he holds it real tight. It's not going to come loose. A lovely detail. He also comes with 5 webs. So we have 2 lengths of these thwippy webs that attach to his wrist. So these shorter ones, these longer ones. You can see the loop, which goes on the wrist there. And a single really long web that he can hold on to. You can see a little peg there for him to grip onto it. Again, casted in clear plastic like the Legends, and I much prefer these. We have not only hands designed specifically to hold them, but we have multiple choices. You know, he can swing from this, he can thwip with the other 2, you can have one hand with the longer thwippy one hand with the shorter. And it's pretty standard now. We see Mafex figures with these types of webs as well. This should be the standard. Looking at articulation now, we have side-to-side movement with both. The Figuarts has 2 joints, so there's quite a bit more movement there. They look up about that much, and down that much. Figuarts a lot more so. People have modded the Marvel Legends neck to cut a bit of that plastic away to make more room for upward movement. This is a screenshot from X-Scorpio's video about this. There's a link below in the description if you want to see that. The arm moves up that much on the Figuarts, and a little bit more on the Legends, to my eye anyway. We have bicep swivel on both. Double jointed elbows, as expected. On the Figuarts, we have that nice hinge and swivel, so you can position the handle a lot more ways. The Legends only has the swivel on the wrist there. They both have butterfly joints. Neither of them do a whole lot, honestly. There's just not a lot of room for movement. You can see I'm trying to move the arm back there. It's just not giving me much to work with. A lot of forward movement with both, but the Legends does crunch further, and the Legends also crunches back way, way more. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. We do get some side-to-side movement with the Figuarts. The Legends didn't really budge a whole lot for me. The legs move forward this much, a fair bit more on the Figuarts. It also has a lot of back movement because of that little ass piece there. They move out that much, a little more on the Figuarts. Both have a swivel at the thigh there. The Legends also has a bit of drop-down action, which you usually see on imports. As far as I could tell, though, it didn't do a whole lot for the articulation. Double jointed knees on both. The Legends is pretty hard to crack there, but I did get it. We have movement on the feet for both, a pretty good range on both of them, and they, of course, both have the ankle rocker. And the Figuarts has a toe joint, always good on a Spider-Man.
I love you.
There we have it, the Battle of the Tobeys. It's crazy that we got both of these in the span of just a few months. And I'm glad that we have the options. My preference is for the Figuarts, unsurprisingly. More and better articulation, way more accessories, giving you options for posing and photography and stuff like that. They really nailed the colors. I think the Legends is too bright. And I think that's really all in proportion with the price on both. The 3-pack of Legends costs more than the one Figuarts figure, but proportionally, you're paying more for this single Figuarts figure than you are for the Legends. But it's kind of like the Deadpool comparison I did a while back. I think there'll be people who are happy with the Legends, it'll do them just fine, and I think it is a great figure. If you don't want all the other extra stuff, this is great. It's got all the essentials. Whipping hands, fists, wall-crawling hands. You can pose it pretty well, and maybe that's all you want. If you want to go the extra mile, pay a bit more for unmasked heads, extra hands, extra posability, then the Figuarts is the one to go with, and it's definitely my preference. But I think we have two really solid Tobey Maguire Spider-Man here. Like I said, it's pretty proportionate to price. So the cheaper domestic figure isn't quite as good. The Japanese one has all the bells and whistles. We're used to this. Let me know what you think. I know some people really hate the Legends and some people really hate the Figuarts. There's one or two things that just doesn't sit well with them. And what do you think of the other two figures in the Legends 2-pack? I am going to do an Andrew Garfield comparison very soon. That's going to be a fun one. Check out my Deadpool review. I mentioned that was a fun one. And give me a sub if you want to see more videos.